Joining us now, David Brock. He's the founder and chairman of the board at Media Matters. The group is out with a new report pushing back against the author of the upcoming book, Clinton Cash, which is said to claim that foreign entities that donated money to the Clinton Foundation received favors from Hillary Clinton while she was at the State Department. David, thank you for joining us.
David, we just wish that you would have come on a busier day. We've got absolutely nothing to talk about here. Nothing to talk about. Go ahead, Mika.
Well, I guess the first question is, how can you push back? The book's not out yet, and how would we really know if there was a true answer to the question if there's no emails that track anything?
Well, look, yeah, the book isn't out yet, and I haven't read it. I give you that point. But look, there's a long history journalistically and politically with this author. And what we were trying to do in the report we published yesterday, 7,000 words, we found 10 cases of really seriously botched journalism that led to a trail of retractions and corrections. And I think the big question with this book is how it's treated in the mainstream press. Yesterday, it came out that the New York Times and Fox News are both chasing promotional deals with the author. The Times hyped the story yesterday, praised it. They withheld publicly available information about the author. They noted that he runs something called the Government Accountability Initiative, but they don't say that that's funded by a prime funder of Ted Cruz's super PAC, by Donor Trust, which is a Koch brothers pass-through. So it's subsidized by Hillary Clinton's enemies. And on the journalism, you know, all I'm saying here is it's fine. I've written books. The Times can look at this book. They can follow it up if they so choose, but don't outsource your journalism to Rupert Murdoch's publishing house. I think that would be a serious mistake. So I think it's very dicey for the Times, and I think that there are a number of cases here. They falsely accused a sitting senator of a crime, and that led to a retraction. So that's not the kind of news that's fit to print. Mark Halpern.
David, are you more interested in knowing whether the facts as laid out in the book or the allegations as laid out in the book are true, or impugning the author?
Well, I'm interested in whether the facts in the book are true, and I'm also interested in the author's history. And all we're saying here is let's front end, be up front, and don't hide. Now, he's a prolific author, I'll give him that, but one of the books that he's written, he scrubbed from his website. It's called Disney, the Mouse Betrayed. I have it here. And the betrayal here, apparently, is that Disney's policies are to treat their gay employees fairly and to allow gay visitors to the park.
David,
and I think that's, I'm gay, and I think that's wrong. I think it's cruel, and I think it's hateful.
You're bringing in lots of other stuff. I just say again, shouldn't we be focused on the truth or lack of truth of what he's saying rather than running through his bio? For instance, your bio is something that some people consider controversial, but when you put ideas forward, we like to just talk about the ideas you're putting forward, not revisit everything you've ever done.
Look, I think it's fair to revisit. It's happened to me. I've been very open about it, and all I'm saying here is, you know, don't hide. Don't scrub a book from your website that's cruel and anti-gay. I think that's an important thing for people to know. Now, look, the publisher says on their website that there's no allegation here of illegality or anything unethical. So I think what we're going to be left with is 100% innuendo. The 3 cases the Times cited yesterday in their report, mainstream media, credible media, have looked at those exhaustively. The Wall Street Journal spent 9 months going over this territory, and they were looking for impropriety and conflicts of interest, and they concluded, quote, that there was no evidence of such. So let's see what the book says when it comes out. I'd be happy to come back. If I'm wrong about it, I'd be happy to say that, but I think this is a political put-up job, and I can smell it a mile away.
Doreen.
David, this is Doreen Warren here. I'm wondering what the issue is with the Post, the Times, and Fox News getting the exclusivity rights to the book. It seems to me that those news organizations will look into whether those allegations are true or not. What is the issue with the exclusive? This happens all the time in publishing.
Yeah, that's not really dirty.
No, look, I think that's a usual practice. My question is, before the Times entered into a promotional deal and got in bed with the author, did they do any vetting? We did the vetting at Media Matters, and I don't think he passed. Others can make up their own minds about that.
David, it's Willie Geist. So I understand your argument here is consider the source. Let's put that to the side for one moment, though, and put the shoe on the other foot. If we were talking about Condoleezza Rice or Colin Powell or James Baker or someone else, wouldn't you be curious, and I know you're a smart and curious guy, about whether or not there had been any connection. Wouldn't it at least be fair to look into it and ask these questions about whether or not the giving of foreign money to a foundation that belonged to that family in any way influenced the action that person took as Secretary of State or as a presidential candidate?
Yes, it's absolutely a legitimate issue. I think, as Secretary Clinton said yesterday, that kind of scrutiny comes with the territory of running for president. And yes, people should go to and look at Secretary Clinton's actions. They're public, and she should be held to account for them.
We kind of can't, because what should be in the public record, or at least viewed by the State Department, has been scrubbed.
So I guess that's the next question,
how
David.
Can we do that, David?
We have these things stacking up. Is it fair to actually ask, again, going back to the email controversy, whether in fact there may be information there that could help us figure out whether there was a quid pro quo? Because at the end of the day, that's really the question here that has to be uncovered once we investigate it. Does a lack of email, a trail of emails, does it make it harder to do that? To get to that answer?
Well, 55,000 pages of email have been turned over to the State Department, and those are going to become public. And so if there's anything relevant in there, sure, then we'll find that out. And, Secretary Clinton has asked that they become public quickly.
David, don't deflect. I'm talking about the ones that were scrubbed. How can you get answers from the ones that were scrubbed that might be considered, quote, personal business? There's no answer, is there?
But there is. Everything relevant to her public duties is in those 55,000 pages.
No, David.
That's the way the law works, Mika.
No, actually, David, you don't have to give me a lesson on the regulations of the State Department. She scrubbed emails because she felt like it, and that went against regulation, and she says they were
did not go against regulation. It totally followed regulation.
David, that she scrubbed emails that she wanted to scrub. Not
it's
anyone
everybody's
else's.
call in government to make those choices, Mika. That's how the law works. And so let's not create a double standard for Hillary Clinton.
Again?
No, we've done this before.
You're going to pretend.
Let's talk about Schweitzer,
guys. We've had the
let's
debate
talk about the book.
We've had the debate about the 2009.
We are talking about the book.
The 2009 regulations before. I'm sure, David, after the book comes out, we'll all read it, and let's meet back here again, same place, and talk about it some more.
Be happy to do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David Brock.